Rachel here. Welcome to my Slow TV Stitchery. Good morning everybody. So you will see that I am now at the stage where I am going to start going across the full width of the canvas, and this is wonderful news because it makes some aspects of doing this much easier. Not least, it shows me that I'm nearly at the end, which is always gratifying. But it does mean that filming may be slightly harder because the elements I'm working on are not so confined within a single space. So we'll see. It is, of course, going to depend on how much intervening stitching time I get as to how quickly this is finished. But since one of the things I'll be doing when we are no longer in lockdown is looking for a curve of the right diameter to attach this to, it would be nice to have it finished. The weather forecast yesterday included snow and ice and sleet and all sorts of other horrors, and we appear to have none of them, which leads me to suppose that they're saving up for later. So it's certainly a sky full of clouds threatening something. However, given that we're in lockdown, there's nothing to go out for apart from to buy food, and one can stay safe inside without any fear of missing out on a wonderful adventure, because they're not supposed to be happening at the moment. And I don't know what it's like where you are, but most of the people I've seen have been being sensible and careful, and the traffic, which had never really recovered from first lockdown, was pretty much halved again. Now, you may be able to see, if not now, perhaps later when I change the camera angle. I'm still trying to work out what to. As I could perhaps have done these fragments as part of the almost complete row below them, but I don't think, as I get closer to the end, I don't think I'm going to be in any trouble for thread, and I think this is neater and easier to keep straight. There was a series of lectures that Christopher Hogwood gave when he was Gresham Professor of Music, and in one of them he talked about the influence of Bach on Brahms, and I tend to find Brahms a little indigestible, rather on the too many notes side of things. But for quite some time after I'd attended that lecture, Brahms was very much more understandable, digestible, very much easier to get along with, which I think is quite an interesting side effect. You would hope to learn something and gain a new insight from a lecture. You don't always. Sometimes what you gain is a new framework to put what you know in, or maybe just a sense of how somebody else's work happens. But to have an actual lasting effect on something you've been doing all your life, listening to music, I shouldn't be surprised. We attended almost all of Christopher Hogwood's Gresham lectures. I think they're all still online. If you go to the Gresham College website, I think all of Christopher Hogwood's lectures are still online. And he covered some very interesting ground, including everything from the use of ornament and improvisation in the Baroque, which is something I had been longing to hear somebody talk authoritatively about, because it sounded as though there was so much to hear about, and there was. But from that to Messien and the Quartet for the End of Time, and it was really interesting in that to hear the famous scholar and musicologist sounding slightly uncertain of himself, as though he felt his understanding of that music was not quite at the same level, perhaps, as his understanding of other music. He was clearly fascinated by it, he clearly valued it, but it was clearly outside of his comfort zone. And that was comforting, because Messien is well outside of my comfort zone. And it's nice to know that even an experienced and dedicated musician might occasionally have trouble with the same things I do. That's all for this session. I hope you enjoyed following along. Happy stitching!